Welcome back to Powered by 8 Racing YouTube channel. Tonight we are going to go over some more of these Power Wheels upgrade and lost some footage, so you're not going to get to see all of the steps, but I'll show you what I did. So let's start at the front.
Powered by 8.
Alright, so I've already replaced all the springs. So those are those Papa Build-A-Lot or something. You get them on Etsy. They're a lot softer, so they actually move now when you put some weight on it. Steering rack is in, and as you can see, I've got a extended rod out here that goes to this, and this has been flipped, so it lowers the front end about 3 inches. Now, for the steering rack mount, I did make a mistake. You'll see this here. I actually had this flipped around, and then I turned the wheel and it was turning the wheels opposite direction. So then what I ended up doing was, so you'll see here, I ended up just cutting the frame. I welded a plate in between it, and then I cut 2 holes here. Now these are oblonged a little bit, and they're oblonged because this isn't exactly centered, so it binds up a little bit, but by having these more of like an oval shape, it allows that steering rack to move. As it starts to get into its phase, it'll slide whichever direction it needs to for the direction of the turn, and it's not really loose, but it helps it not be bound up. So that's what I did. And then as you can see, these were flipped over. They flip over pretty nice. But while we're here, you'll see I used a piece of the pipe I cut off as the spacer here, and then on the inside of here there's a piece of CPVC that fits over that spindle and the spacer for this, and works pretty well. Alright, you'll see here, this is the battery tray. So this was pretty simple. I just took some of the angle iron, I'll put a battery here, I'll put a battery here, and then I just welded it up to get it squared off of here and here. And then I just laid it flat and welded it from the bottom onto this frame rail. So as you can see, I got the batteries here. This is 48 volts, 20,000 milliamp hour batteries. I can fit one more in there if I really wanted to and get 60,000 milliamps if I feel like I need the capacity. Potentially even the amperage might require it, but it should have. These are rated. It should run this motor just fine. Anyways, I swapped those out for XT60s, and then I've got them ran in parallel. We'll shove this up through the thing, and I'm gonna probably drill a hole and just hot glue these out the side. I'll have to disconnect one of those when I charge this up so that the chargers aren't charging at the same time. I'd like to just cut this off. Maybe if I can use an RC charger for this, I'll figure it out. See how I can get that accomplished. See if my RC charger will charge these batteries quicker than those little trickle charge PC power supply chargers that'll take forever to charge. The wheels, you can see I painted black with the green ring. Nothing special there. Axle nuts are all on. Now you saw me build this in the previous video, but what you didn't see me build was this. This I did. I noticed that once I put these springs on, this chain was hitting and it would flex. I had originally just stuck a bar across the top and it would still go too far down. So I don't think you can see it here, but it goes pretty low now. And so I just took a piece of the tubing, I put it across here and then braced it where I felt comfortable doing it. And this has to get painted up and whatnot, and that's that. Now the brake is here. It is a disc brake, hydraulic. It's a dual piston, and again I just used some angle. The bracket that came with the brake, cut it down, and then a piece of the tubing that I had cut off the front, I stuck here to give it some support at the bottom, and that's pretty much how the caliper's going to work, and it works out pretty well. And let me show you the lever. So this is gonna be the lever. The stock arm that came on this was only about this long, and my daughter was still not very strong, and so I figured since it's a hydraulic system, the more leverage she can have, the better for her it'll be. And so I had this laying around from the race car. It's my old strain gauge. This is a very expensive piece to have on here, but hey, it's not going anywhere, and I'll take it back when it's time. Anyways, so this is the front, this is the back. This will go straight to that caliper, and then it'll have a hose, and this has a hose that goes to a little reservoir for the brake fluid. And then as she pulls this back, that then applies the pressure to the caliper and should help stop the car. And then, so to make this though, this was actually a custom piece. This isn't the caliper that, or the master cylinder that came on it. The one that came on this, I didn't have the right hoses for to fit. So I had a different kit, the kit that came with that. I used it, and then so what I did was I took a piece of metal, I cut it the same shape as this, cut a hole in the middle of it, and then I welded on a piece of angle, and then I welded the angle to that, and then that's how I'm holding the master cylinder onto this brake lever. This one worked out well because it has the right size plunger, has the right size thread to fit this block. So no, that worked out pretty well and got really lucky there. All right, now that the batteries are in, I really need to get the body back together. I don't remember really exactly the steps of it. I want to say I just took it all apart and when it was off. So I think I'm just going to try to do that again. I'm going to try to get like the windshield on and screwed on and stuff like that. I don't need the body off anymore, and I really need it to be on the cart for the next parts that I'm going to be doing. Hopefully the batteries aren't in the way for getting the bolts on the bottom of the handbrake. If so, we'll just cut them off. It's just zip ties. But I need the body on to do that because the hose and everything else needs to be there. So anyways, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to get this body put back together, and then once I get that done, I will move on to the next step, which is probably the handbrake. All right, it's the next day. It is like a tornado came through here last night. I've got the biggest mess of stuff everywhere. Everywhere is a mess. Like, I'm seriously, like, I was thrashing over something so trivial and dumb that I spent way too much time on it. The brake system did not work. I was pairing a different master up with a different caliper, and one of the two systems was broke. And I believe that it might have even been both, and it might have just been from them being dry and being used and them being just cheap junk. Anyways, I actually had a spare that didn't get delivered in time, so I had ordered an extra one. So I went back to that system, and for the sake of not cracking it open and it failing, I left the system together, and by doing that, I couldn't get the caliper. It's the same caliper, just it's the stock caliper system with the stock plunger, which also had been modified. So let me grab this one. So the stock one was like this. I didn't use this one originally because it was just this solid rod. And the one I used was this one. And it had a threaded rod. And it fit the lever perfectly. Look, these are the same size plungers. That should work. There's no problem there. The only difference is this has a reservoir here. And this has a reservoir that was remote. Now, I don't know if this is broken, but it was not pumping fluid. Let me rephrase that. It was pumping fluid very, very slowly. I even hooked up my brake system. I was sucking fluid through it to make sure everything was bled right. It would not pump the piston. I even then took this, put it on. This is the one that came off, and this wouldn't even pump this. So I think this was bad, and this was bad. They're two different independent systems. I don't know how they went bad. Anyways, I had another one of these. So what I had to do was I redid this. This fit perfectly fine, but the problem was that plunger. So what I did was I took a screw, I cut the rod, and I just welded the right size bolt to the end of the rod, which is right under there, which actually worked out pretty well because I could screw it in this way, and then I attach it to that way. But now I've got this big hole because I didn't want to crack the system open, so I drilled this big, huge hole in here, and so I could just fit the caliper through there. Now, because of that, I made this plate, and this plate's just gonna go right over here. So that's where I am right now. That plate will cover that up, and there won't be that gaping hole. It'll look just fine, and that's what we're gonna do to solve that problem. Let me grab my rivet gun, let me grab my drill, pop that in there, and move on with something else in my life. It works really well now. It's right there is a full, that's a full pull right there, and I can push it, and as soon as I do this, it stopped. I mean, I'm not even pulling that hard. Like right here, look, let me push it right there, that's stopping it, and that's just my finger, and it's locked up, look. So I think that'll work good for her. I think she'll be strong enough to do it. Look, that's perfect. Anyways, let me get that drilled up and let's move on with life. All right, so you see I got the plate here, and then I noticed I don't like this. So I went ahead and made a plate for that. Boom, there we have it. Nice closed up. Gas pedal works all the way to the ground. I might put a little piece of foam there just to help steady that when it is all the way down. I'll just put some foam back there, and that will stiffen that up once it gets down there so her foot's not wobbling around and it breaks prematurely. All right, so that's the inside of the cockpit. Brake is working, plates covered it, plates covered it. All right, now let's mount the controller and wires and get all that stuff hooked up. All right, so the plan is gonna put the computer here. So what I've done is I've made myself a plate. I'm going to rivet the plate here, and then this will attach to that. And then as you can see, I've got it pre-drilled. I've got some riv nuts there, that way I can take the controller on and off as needed, and these will just get riveted there. I'll put some back washers on the rivets. That'll hold it in place. So let's put that in there. All right, so now you see I've got the controller in, I've got it mounted up, and pretty much now it's just gonna be running a bunch of wires. I'm going to skip all of that. Next time you see us, we're gonna have the car together and the dash on and things like that. There's not much else to see in between now and then. I'm not gonna go over the wiring because the wiring is just gonna be different for everybody's thing. So unless you got this very specific controller that I got, I will say that this company that I got this controller from on eBay has been very great and responsive with their support, and they know the product. So I've asked them questions about this and that, and they knew exactly what I was talking about and how to fix it. So that was really good, and it wasn't expected. But anyways, let me get going, and we will see you guys in like 1 second. All right, we've arrived at Pro Karting Experience here in, I think it's St. Pete is the actual place, but this is a pretty good local go-kart track. It's probably one of the only go-kart tracks in our area that has gas cars. So it's a pretty fun track. They have a lot of leagues and rentals and bring your own kart leagues and all kinds of stuff here. But it's a good place for karting. And yeah, so there's Bristol coming around. She's still taking a little bit slow, but that's okay. We will get her sped up here soon enough. She gets a little bit more comfortable in it, and she'll be good to go.
Hey drivers, are your seatbelts buckled? Are your wheels straight on the car to make sure when you step on the gas it's going straight? Are your wheels straight? Both hands on the wheel. We got one more flag. What's the green flag mean?
Go! Go, go, go! Go, Bristol, go!
Corvette. Oh, this is no. Oh, we got a driver broke down. The driver broke down. Oh, this driver's gonna be mad. Now, this is not the first mechanical failure, and this driver's done.
Woo! Nice job, girl. First place. All right, you can keep going if you want to. Well, that was a success. She was by far the fastest Power Wheels out there. Obviously, it's modified Power Wheels, but in the end, we can't come back.
You need to be very careful around other kids, okay? You got a big car, so don't be crazy around it. Make sure when you pass them nice. Don't hit nobody.
Give them thumbs up.
Oh, good Jesus Christ. Man, that's almost a little too much for here, man. It's a lot of car.
Yep. They got beat by a girl. Now they're mad, and they don't want Gravedigger back out there. I kind of see it, both sides of it. You know, there's other modified carts out there, and maybe it's a little bit more modified than they wanted it to be, but you know, they compared her cart against like one of those Mario Kart open, you know, tiny little cars, and rather than restricting all cars and restrict that one, that's the dangerous one. Any of the other cars would hit. Hey, I'm gonna go off. We can't go back. That's a wrap. Anyways, I hope that you're able to build yourself a Gravedigger. Don't stop building just because we can't go to Talladega, but we proved our point, and in normal fashion of mine, I was asked to not come back. Happens all the time. Happens with the race car. Whatever. It is what it is. That's what happens when you ruffle feathers and you push boundaries. Anyways, thanks for watching. Next episode is going to be back with the race car, and we will see you there.
Powered by Ocho.
Speed. Nice. Was that a fast one all the whole time?
Yeah.
Nice job. Nice job.